It's an honor for me to address you this morning together with my colleagues from Cedefop. Some of them have been introduced, but Lucas Zahilas have not been introduced. He's a senior expert. And Kostas Pouliakas is also a senior expert, and with us also is Lazaros Tonisidis, who also works at Cedefop, but he is seconded to one of your ministries, which is the Ministry of Administrative Reform and E-Governance. I also come from a very small island in the Mediterranean. I come from Malta, so I feel quite at home in Greece. I have been living here for 1 year, and I have found in Greece a second home, and the people themselves have made me feel at home when I am in Thessaloniki. Of course, in Thessaloniki we have an agency which is very relevant to the people and to the lives of young people. But we are not the only agency. Many of you know that within the European Union there are 40 agencies. We will fall by the 1st of November under the Directorate General for Employment. A question which normally is being asked about agencies is how much do they consume of the European budget? For your information, all agencies put together, they only consume 0.6% of the total budget of the European Union, which when you distribute that over the entire population of 500 million, it will be roughly 1.6 euros per European citizen. As you can see from the slide, all agencies cover a very wide range of sectors. The agency itself is focused, as the Chair has just announced, on vocational education, which is that part of education where theory and practice come together, where qualifications, or what people get at the end of a learning process, cover a very wide spectrum of qualifications, where there is a special relationship with the labour market, which is almost an authentic way of seeing education, and vocational training has a very quick response to economic growth. So when we look at our raison d'être, why we're there, we are there because we need people who are employable. We need people to have knowledge, skills and competences that your markets, the markets within the Union, require. And of course, to have these skills, you need to have qualifications, or at least statements of what a person is capable of doing and knowing, which are transparent, which make and facilitate mobility within Europe. They have or can be recognized by other member states, and therefore it facilitates mobility internally and among European states. We haven't been at Thessaloniki during the whole spectrum of our 40 years, but my colleague George Paraskevaitis will talk about when we were in Berlin, and since 1995 we have been residing in Thessaloniki. So next year we will be celebrating our 40th anniversary. So when you look at vocational training, this is not an invention, so to speak, of the 21st century. If you go back into the documents of the European Union itself, tracing back to even 1957, which is 57 years ago, you will see already the first traces of how important vocational education is. From that time till today, the last two items on the slide are the most important, because these are processes in which all European member states are actively participating to ensure that vocational training has a quality platform which is widely recognized, not within education, but within education, labour market and other sectors. So we operate as well in line with the European 2020 strategy and within the flagships that the European Union itself has launched for smart growth, for sustainable growth, for inclusive growth. In particular, we are very much into what is the agenda for new jobs and new skills. What is our strategy? Of course, our strategy is to have projects and to have activities which we distribute over the years in pockets of what we call mid-term priorities, and these mid-term priorities, of course, focus on particular issues which are related to the special relationship between vocational training and the labour markets. And on top of all this, of course, as an agency, we have to move forward with vocational training to meet the European agenda. In a nutshell, therefore, to conclude, we are at the interface, we are in between, we are the brokers between education and the labour market. Therefore, we are between what people learn, whether it's in schools or in vocational training, and what adults can continue learning in a lifelong learning process. No one is equipped enough for the jobs of today and for the future. If we lose track of the importance of lifelong learning, then we will have more people unemployed and more people without the right skills. A list of our work here, I will not go through it, but I will simply say that the agency itself can offer a forecasting sector or a forecasting package about which my colleague Kostas will speak, in which we forecast what skills are needed in the labour market and how educational policy how this should feed into education policy. Adult learning and lifelong learning are also important sectors within our studies. The prioritisation, if I had to squeeze all those activities into three key priorities, these are the modernisation of vocational training, therefore vocational training that responds to the labour market, but also to personal development. We go into careers and transitions, what I was talking about a minute ago, the lifelong learning perspective of people to remain in the labour market for as long as possible, and the anticipation of skills and what skills are needed in order to respond positively to the developments. Of course, the centre itself is governed by a three- or four-partite arrangement made up of governments, of course, because we are part of the union, of employers, of employee representatives, and the Commission itself. There is a very strict and very laborious way of reporting, and I think the centre itself, which I found last year when I joined in October, is robust enough in its procedures and its administrative and financial procedures, and transparent enough to gain from external auditors praise and clear light for our activities. Three facts before I finish. When you look at this slide, you will realise that we are 121 members of staff. These come from 23 member states, and of course, since we are in Greece, Greece itself has the most number of employees. There are 47 out of 121 employees. Males and females, there are more females than males. Maybe this is not of much importance, but the last slide shows that the age distribution is a very balanced distribution between young blood, experience, and strong expertise. So, to conclude, if I were to define our own raison d'être in one word, we are an agency because we want to promote employability, we want to help member states to resolve issues of unemployment, and we know that in the future the most important thing for our economies is to give people the opportunity to train on the workplace, and not only that, therefore also to promote apprenticeships as much as possible. So thank you very much. Sorry for taking one or more minutes.